This is the long jump, SAQ, plyo, and power video. Power, plyometrics, and speed drills can enhance long jump performance. They help develop explosive power in sprinting and jumping, and speed drills are used to improve the sprinting mechanics, which in turn increases the force and distance of the athlete's jump. So our theme is single effort power because they only do one jump at a time and they have a break between. So that's 80 to 90% 1RM, 1 to 2 reps, 3 to 5 sets with 2 to 5 minutes of rest. For movement patterns, it's primarily in the sagittal plane with flexion and extension at the hips and knees and ankles. There's also a transverse plane component in sprinting because you got a little bit of rotation that you have to resist, and the arm drive also involves both sagittal and transverse plane. For muscles, it's the major lower extremity muscles like the quads, glutes, hamstrings, gastrocs, and soleus, so a lot of those big, powerful muscles. There's also a lot of stabilization requirements as you're landing on an unstable surface, so hip, ab, and abductors, your core, and small muscles around the ankles. For energy systems, it's the phosphagen and anaerobic power. It's a short duration, high intensity event. So our workout sequence is going to start with a warm-up, then we'll do power, then plyos, then speed. This is based on importance of these aspects to the sport and also neural fatigue. So we're going to start off with our dynamic warm-up. It has many performance benefits. You're going to start with general movements and get into more specific using the ramp protocol. The whole warm-up should last 10 to 20 minutes. So for raise, we're going to increase our heart rate, body temp, and viscoelasticity of muscles with a 5-minute jog. Then we'll go into our activate and mobilize phase where you're moving through a range of motion. You want to move. We did a lot of movements that involve the legs because they have to move through a wide range of motion in sprinting, and you also want to focus on prepping those muscles. So we've got the hip 90-90, some leg swings, lunges, basically stretching out the quads and the calves. And finally, we move into our potentiate phase, which is increasing intensity to prepare for maximum effort. You're getting more sport specific here. So we have A skips and B skips, which are important in sprinting mechanics. You're going to do high and long skips, broad jumps, a single leg vertical jump, and a 40-meter build sprint. First in our workout is a lower body power lift, which is the power clean. Primary muscles here is glute max, quads, hamstrings, gastroc and soleus, deltoids, and trapezius. Our lift mechanics are going to be explained in the following clip. I'm going to go over some deficits. So early arm pull, which would cause you to use your arms more than your legs, transfer force up the kinetic chain. This can also lead to the bar drifting forward, and this can create a moment arm out front, so it can place stress on the low back, and it also, when this happens, you lack control of the bar. We also see improper timing and coordination. Commonly, it can cause, again, more arm use and less drive at the hips, which is the purpose of the exercise. One last deficit could be a range of motion deficit. This can be seen at the shoulders or the wrists, as you have to flip underneath that bar quickly, and it requires a decent amount of motion at the wrists and shoulders. The purpose of this exercise is to enhance explosive strength and coordination. We use the triple extension at the hips, knees, and ankles to mimic sprinting mechanics and also jumping and takeoff.
So next up for our athlete, we have power cleans. So for these power cleans, we're going to have the athlete begin by getting in the starting position, having their feet shoulder width apart, toes pointed forwards, the bar directly over their foot. We're going to have them bend at the knees and at the hip, keeping a neutral back and neutral spine, head and neck position. The closed overhand pronated grip. And to begin, the athlete's going to come into triple extension, driving the hips forward, exploding up onto the toes. As the bar comes up, they're going to wrap their elbows around it and drop underneath.
Here we have the upper body power lift. We chose the push jerk. Primary muscles are the glute max, hamstrings, quads, gastroc, soleus, deltoids, and traps. It involves a triple extension of the ankles, knees, and hips, and it's similar to a long jump launch phase as it uses core stability to keep the body upright.
So next up for our athlete, we have the push jerk. So starting off, our athlete is going to be in the deadlift, same starting position as a deadlift, neutral spine, head and neck, feet shoulder width apart, closed pronated grip, standing up straight. Next, they're going to perform a hang clean to get the bar into the front rack position. Notice the bar is resting on top of the deltoids along the clavicle, hands slightly wider than shoulder width. And as the athlete goes down for a dip, they're going to press up and get a second dip just below the bar, catching with the elbows fully extended. That was good. Next, we have the single leg long jump. This is a lower body plyo that is very similar to the long jump, as they both are max effort jumping off of a single leg. Primary muscles include the glutes, quads, hamstrings, gastrocs, and soleus. First, we're going to start upright on one leg with the other knee flexed, perform a counter movement, and use both arms to help gain momentum into the jump. Explosively jump forward as far as possible, land on both feet to prevent the chance of major injury, rest between jumps to also prevent injury. These are max effort, so we will be doing them in the 3 to 6 rep range for each leg.
Up next is the two-hand side-to-side throw or toss. This exercise really focuses mainly on our core rotational abdominal muscles as well as some upper body muscles. The primary muscles include the internal and external obliques, rectus abdominis, deltoids, pec major, and triceps. To perform the exercise, one partner throws the med ball to one side near the upper shoulder. The athlete catches at either shoulder, performs a quick counter movement by cocking the arms back, and throws the ball back as fast as possible. Ideally, both the tosser and athlete keep consistent tosses to maximize effort and efficiency. The purpose of this exercise is to resist trunk rotation using the oblique muscles. This requires a strong core and postural control just like the long jump.
The last exercise we have is a speed drill, weighted vest sprints. This drill is used to help the athlete with the spring phase of the long jump. The primary muscles involved are hip flexors, quads, hamstrings, glute max, gastrocs, soleus, as well as anterior and posterior deltoids to help with the arm swinging. Setup starts with choosing the proper vest size for the athlete, add 10% of the athlete's body weight, and disperse evenly throughout pockets. Running will be 40 meters long on track or other flat surface. Athlete will run at 50%, 75%, and then 100%. Finally, the athlete will take off the vest and perform the last sprint. The purpose is to add resistance in the sprint phase to improve sprinting mechanics and explosive power. The faster the athlete runs, the further they can jump.
Here we go.
We're gonna do a weighted vest sprint. So for this, we're gonna have our vests and we have our weights. It's gonna be 10% of our athlete's body weight. So we'll start by filling both the top and the bottom from the center. Now we'll move to the front. And the bottom. Okay, now Griffin's gonna put this on over his head. We're gonna come around and make sure that the front of it is in line with his sternum, and then we're going to tighten the straps here on the top, and now we have these straps in the back, and then come around like so, and then strap them on the other side nice and tight.
So next up, we're going to have Griffin do 4 sprints, the first one being at 50%, the second being at 75%, and the last 2 being at 100%, with the final sprint being without the vest.
Ready, go.